here we have a situation where we have 4 steps that are all the same size, same riser height and tread length. And we also have 2 separate flights of stairs. So if we have a flight of stairs and then a landing and then another flight of stairs, then your local building department might allow you to change the riser heights and the tread width or tread depth. So keep that in mind if you're dealing with a situation like this. So as long as you have a landing, something that your local building department will approve as a landing, that is usually going to be the width of the stairway in depth. So I believe here we have a 3-foot wide stairway and we have a 3-foot depth. Except we have a few riser variations where we have coming out of the house or the top of the floor inside the house, we have about 5 3/16 of an inch for our riser, and this usually won't be a problem if the door swings into the house and not over the steps. And I do have other videos on that at our website in the building code area. Now the next 2 problems we're going to run into is the riser height here. Usually the riser height is going to have a minimum of 7 3/4 inches, or it might be 8 inches, but you're probably not going to get away with 9 inches or 11 inches. And we're also not going to have a problem with the rest of the stairway. 7-inch risers, 2-foot long or 2-foot deep treads or steps that are all the same size except for when we get to right here. Now in the next few examples, I want to redesign the stairway and provide you with some ideas that might work and some ideas that might not work. And in order to do that, we're going to need to figure out the total rise or the difference between the first level, lower level, and the upper level. And on an exterior stairway, I wouldn't add up all the risers, simply measure each one of the risers and add them together and think you're going to get the total rise. Because it's not uncommon to slope the concrete steps, the balcony or deck, about 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch per foot to allow for the water to drain off of it. So create a level line and simply measure up to the distance of the upper floor. And in our example here, we have 4'5" and 3/16 of an inch. A difference between the bottom and the top floor. And we're going to go ahead and divide this number by 7 to try and add another riser to this. Now I'm only going to drop this down 1 3/16 of an inch at the very top. And in reality, this will not be a riser. It will not be part of the stairway. So if I subtract my 1 3/16 inches from the top, I'm going to have 52 inches here. And then if I divide that by 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 risers, it's going to provide me with a 7.42 riser height, individual riser height for each one of the steps. So we're going to have 2 separate stairways with 2 different tread depths, 12 inches up here, 2 foot down here. And to accomplish this without removing the stairway, you're going to need to add a specific amount of material to the top of each one of the steps, and then build another step and then add some material to this one. Now the thing I don't like with this is the thin measurement that we have here, and there's a very good chance you're going to have a difficult time finding a material that's going to stick to the concrete, whether it's going to be thinner or thicker. Again, another reason suggesting that you need to remove and replace, redesign the stairway. And another design suggestion that might not work because of this area right here would be to make each step the same depth and with the same riser height. So here we have 1'7" and 9/16 for our tread depth, and we have 7 steps, and of course 7 risers. And again, these thin materials right here are going to be a big concern of mine, whether or not something like this is going to last. And I do realize that there are plenty of people out there who have a difficult time figuring out that some of the information you find on the internet might not actually work. You don't get to see pictures of this stuff that they did 5 or 10 years ago. They're not showing you. Why? Probably because it's not working. Now, another problem you're going to have with this stairway is that you need 3 feet somewhere. Either this step right here needs to be 3 feet long, or this step here would need to be 3 foot. We need 3 foot in length to provide us with a step down or an even transfer to the landing here. However, you could always put a handrail on this side or a guardrail to prevent people from walking over to this side here, and then maybe put some plants on top of it or repurpose it somehow to make something like this work. Or we can redesign the stairway again. Make the steps smaller here so that we can extend the length of the deck out another foot to give us the desired measurement we need here, so that it could be approved by local building codes. However, you would need to verify with your local building department as to whether or not they're going to consider this a separate stairway from this one and allow you to use different size tread depths or riser heights. Otherwise, a stairway like this will need to be redesigned again to where all of the steps are the same size, and that could easily be done by extending the length of the landing and then coming down with the same size treads here as you would have down here. And if you're redesigning the stairway, you could always start it here and then use 12-inch steps or whatever you're using here for the tread depth, and then simply come down. Maybe you're going to get to about here and then stop it somewhere about here, and then it'll basically level off to the same height as this here to make everything work. And I hope that makes sense. Again, my concerns are going to be any of these thin areas here, because I can almost guarantee this is going to crack right here. You're going to get a crack here, 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 and here, which takes me back to my original thought on remodeling a project like this, and that would be to go ahead and remove it, redesign it to where it meets local building codes, instead of wondering if something like this is going to last because you read somewhere that a new miracle product has just came out and it's going to solve all your problems, when in fact it might not. This video is the direct result of me watching other YouTube videos and reading some of the comments dealing with covering up damaged concrete stairs with some type of epoxy-based or cement-based product. And I'm here to tell you that some of these products don't work. I'm not here to tell you that all of the products don't work, but I am here to tell you that there's a good chance, a high probability, that all of these products don't work all of the time. So if you're going to put an epoxy-based product, something that has some type of a resin, and you're like, yeah, this stuff's really going to stick to the stairs and work great, or you've actually witnessed the product and it was applied 10 years ago to a stairway that still looks like it's in good shape, then I say go for it. The biggest problem with the YouTube videos is that they don't usually show what the stairs look like 2, 5, 10, or even 30 years from now. They're showing you what it looks like 15 minutes after it's done or a day after it's done. And this is the part where we got to start thinking. I mean, we've got to put some thought into the information that we're receiving. And this is usually going to require you to do a little more research. For example, if you have an existing concrete stairway that is damaged, maybe it's missing a couple of pieces on the corner, has a long crack up the side of it, something like this. If you have a crack going all the way up the stairway, you could actually have a concrete stairs that has split into 2 sections. And you would need to find out why that actually happened. And of course, I would recommend that on any home repair you ever do. You've got to find out what caused the problem. And if you're not interested in doing the research, then you shouldn't be interested in covering up your stairway with a material that's probably not going to last. So I think I've made my point here. YouTube videos, salespeople, promotional advertising, stuff like that. It's not always going to work in your best interest. In this video, I will provide you with another idea for building a safer set of stairs over an existing concrete stairway that might not be safe, or a stairway that might need smaller risers. And to save you some time and frustration, this is not a step-by-step instructional video. This is more or less a video that will provide you with an example of how something like this can be done. And in this example, we are going to be adding a sideboard here. And it's going to provide us with the additional structural strength we're going to need to hold everything together and be able to lift the stairway off of or put it over the old existing stairway. So we have a stairway here with 3 steps, and we wanted to add another step so that we could lower the height of each one of the risers to make it easier for possibly an older person to walk up and down a stairway. So we're just simply going to design the stairway like this. We're going to have a larger board. In our example here, this is a 2x10. And all of the lumber is treated. I will leave it up to you as to whether or not you need to use treated lumber or other materials. And I went ahead and added a gravel foundation here so that we could extend the lower step. However, this might need to be concrete. You might need to bite the bullet there to have something that will provide you with a little more support. So not too difficult to build. However, something like this is probably going to trap debris, dirt, sand, and if this becomes moist for a long period of time, it can rot the lumber. But that's the beauty of this stairway. If you build it to where you can lift the set of stairs off, then you're going to be able to clean these areas. Let's go ahead and take a look at the nailing. You can use nails or screws and put them wherever you possibly can to fasten everything together. And that would include whether or not you're going to create something permanent or have something that you'll be able to lift off so that you can clean the debris that will get captured under the stairway. And the debris usually accumulates from any gaps or cracks in the lumber, any knot holes that might have fallen out. So keep that in mind while you are building. And make sure that you nail or screw everything together, including the back of this board to your boards here. And if you are going to build it and then install it over the stairway, it wouldn't be a bad idea to check it in sections. So maybe build these 2 sections together and then set them over the existing stairway to see if everything's working. And it might not be a bad idea to use screws on the sides. Maybe only put a couple of screws in on the sides and then set everything in place to make sure that it is going to work and you don't need to make additional modifications. I mean, the last thing you want to do for a project like this, if you've never done something like this before, will be to firmly attach everything together using adhesives, whatever, and then find out that you made a mistake and your new stairway isn't simply going to slide over the existing one. Next up, let's go ahead and take a look at an example of how you can simply lift the stairway off and then grab a broom and remove all of the debris. And you might want to do this once a year, once every other year. And of course, if the gravel is not going to work out for you, then add a structural footing that will provide you with some better support and or allow you to permanently secure your new stairway to the existing one. And if the stairway doesn't seem secure, you set it over the existing one and it's wiggling a little bit while you're using it. It doesn't feel like it's going to be safe, then you might be able to use some screws or some type of building hardware to attach it to the existing stairway. Now, another thing I need to point out is that some stairways might require a longer last step. And if this is going to be a building code issue, then you won't be able to use this particular idea. Now, another thing I don't think I would be happy with, but you might be tempted to use, would be some type of a design like this to where you use a larger skirt board or sideboard to create this design. And I don't see a problem with this. as long as you're going to install a guardrail on both sides, something that will not allow people to jump over the side of the stairway. Because something like this could be a trip hazard as somebody comes down the stairs and then wants to jump off of this step here or this one here, and then of course gets their foot caught and then face plants into the ground. Not a good thing. And definitely something to think about before and not after building something like this. So hopefully by now you have another idea, something else that might work for your particular project. If not, make sure that you check out some of the other videos that I have already done for building stairs over an existing concrete stairway. And thanks for watching. To learn more about home building and repairs, visit us at our website. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content. See you next time.